Junebird and Love by Gem Cassia. We're running out of time. Donnie looked at her wristwatch to confirm what she suspected. It was 2 minutes past 9 o'clock at night and their target, known for her excessive punctuality, was late. Relax, Sloane said. If Central said she'll be in her office tonight, she'll be there. Sloane peered into the telescopic sight of her sniper rifle. She laid prone on the rooftop of a 50-floor building with a bipod of her weapon resting on a raised roof edge. Donnie laid next to her, tapping the sight of a bioptics binocular. This was the only position which allowed them to shoot their target without hitting anyone driving heavy cars in the sky. Through the rifle's scope, she kept her eyes on a luxurious office located 2,600 meters away on the top floor of Eklund and Pride. The cybernetics health company made a fortune when it introduced the country to Factor HC1, a medicinal drug that suppressed augmentation sickness. Anyone who suffered from major injuries to kidney failure needed the latest cybertech implant to survive, but not everyone was compatible with augmentation. What happened as a result was illness, and the company liked to leave out the death toll which followed. It was ironic to Sloane how Eklund and Pride made the medicine, because it was the same company which created the faulty implants in the first place. They pretty much made a vaccine to their own virus. She thought it was a little funny how people forgot that. But it wasn't funny when her girlfriend developed symptoms of augmentation sickness. She remembered when Vivian showed signs of it. The way her hands shook, the odd rhythm of her breathing, the sweating even on cold nights. Then came the worst symptom, darkened blood veins protruding on the skin. They were lucky it wasn't too late when Vivian applied for Factor HC1. She remembered the constant, rising bills afterward, but it didn't matter so long as the medicine worked and Vivian got to live longer than a doctor estimated. Then came the day they were late on payments. Sloane's grip on the sniper rifle tightened. All it took was one late payment and the company sent a denial letter rejecting further deliveries of Factor. Now Vivian laid the hospital and she was on a rooftop ready to murder the one responsible. Of course, it wasn't all personal. Central informed them the company's CEO, Emma Eklund, would be in her office for a few minutes tonight to download data for a renewal policy. This policy will be voted on tomorrow and most likely, it would pass. When it does, the company can withhold Factor from anyone regardless of late payments or not. Sloane suspected it was so the company could keep Factor for their wealthier clients even if it meant over 300,000 patients will die from augmentation sickness. The few minutes Emma would be in her office is the only time to make sure the policy didn't go through. Sloane wasn't going to fail. She's here. Donnie turned a knob on her binoculars. Front door. Sloane moved her reticle to the front of the office. Sure enough, there was Emma Eklund, and like Central said, she went to her desk to download the files. Donnie reported the distance to their target along with the current wind speed and its direction. Sloane adjusted her aim to make sure she didn't waste a bullet. One shot. That's all she needed. She moved her index finger to the trigger. She steadied her breathing. Her reticle aimed at Emma's head. Then she took in a breath, but removed her finger from the trigger. Her eyes caught something else moving into the office. Something which made Emma look up from her computer and smile. What's wrong? Donnie asked. Her daughter is with her, Sloane said. The young 6-year-old skipped to her mother's side, dressed in a ballerina outfit and carried a small leather backpack in one hand as well as a piece of paper in the other. Sloane zoomed in on the paper in the girl's hand. It was an invitation to a dance ceremony next week. Emma must have arrived from her daughter's rehearsal. Now, she understood why the CEO was late. Central didn't say anything about this during the brief. Take the shot, Donnie said. Sloane looked away from the sniper scope at Donnie. What did you just say? Shoot her. We only have a few minutes before she leaves. Her kid is with her. So what? She wondered if she heard Donnie wrong. She shook her head, mostly to herself and to the other woman. I don't have a clear shot. You're kidding, right? Donnie glared at her. You have a straight line right to her head. I don't. Donnie caught her head to one side and let out a sharp laugh. I'm so me to call Central and ask them to reschedule. Sloane ignored her and stood up. She pressed a button on the side of her rifle, which caused the barrel to retract into the body and its stock folded inwards, turning the weapon into a metallic rectangle which Sloane placed on a magnet strapped to the back of her shoulder. "I'll call them myself." She headed towards the radio, which was set down with the rest of their equipment a short walk away. Donnie followed her and gripped her shoulder, forcing her to turn around. "You're putting thousands of lives in jeopardy because you don't want some kid to see her mother die. The renewal policy won't be voted on until tomorrow. I'll figure something out by morning. Central said this is our only chance. You can't walk away now." She wasn't wrong and Sloane knew it, but she turned her back on Donnie anyway. Before she picked up the pack with the radio, something clicked behind her. She faced the other woman who had a pistol pointed at her head. "You're going to shoot me?" Sloane asked. "I will if you don't get back into position." Sloane wanted to believe Donnie was bluffing, but the look in her eyes said otherwise. It wasn't just loyalty to Central or a conviction to get the job done. There was something else there too, desperation. That's when Sloane noticed it. The slight shake in Donnie's hand. The dark veins protruding on her skin, crawling out from underneath her sleeve to the back of her hand which held the gun. "How long has it been since your last factor shot?" Sloane asked. "Too long. And I won't get another unless you do what you signed up for." Despite Donnie's hand shaking, it would be hard for her to miss from this distance. Sloane would get hit in the shoulder or chest even if she moved fast enough. "I'm the only one who can make that shot," Sloane said. "If you kill me, how are you going to complete the mission?" "Maybe I'll drive to her house and place a bomb," Donnie shrugged. "Or maybe I'll walk over and shoot her up close. Either way, you know this is the cleanest way to do it. We can have one person's blood on our hands tonight or hundreds of thousands." A weak smile formed on Donnie's lips. "One of those lives is going to be me in a few weeks." Her voice wavered. "I don't want to die, Sloane." Sloane didn't know how to respond. She only felt a weight fall over her. "I don't want to die." Those were the same words Vivian said to her the first night at the hospital. She promised then she would do everything in her power to save the woman she loved. If she didn't do anything now, would she be a liar or a coward? She was already a murderer. Years in her line of work made that impossible to avoid. What difference would it make to take one more life? She abandoned any thought of fighting Donnie. She pulled her rifle from the magnet on her back and pressed a button to return it to its original shape. She positioned herself in the same spot as before and looked into the scope. Emerald was in the middle of packing files and a hard drive into a briefcase while her daughter waited for her by the door. The little girl was so young. There was no one else around. No one the child could call to for help if her mother suddenly collapsed into a pool of her own blood. "Don't think about it," Donnie said. "It's not like she sits in that office thinking about all the lives she's going to ruin. None of their names or faces are running through her mind when she sleeps at night." Whether that was true or not, didn't matter. Sloane told herself she was going to do the right thing. Yet, her aim wasn't steady like before. "Don't miss," Donnie reminded her. Sloane ignored her. She swallowed hard, took in a deep breath. Then she pulled the trigger. She prayed Vivian would forgive her.